Good evening, everyone. We are calling the Bamberg School District 1 Board of Trustees meeting to order. Today's date is September 21st. You all have had an opportunity to receive and review the agenda. And at this time, I would like to know the pleasure of the board with regards to approval of the agenda.
Madam Chairman, I move that we approve the agenda as presented.
We have a motion on the floor that we approve the agenda as presented. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion on the floor and a second. Is there any discussion? If not, and you're in agreement with the approval of the agenda as it's presented, please signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Is there any opposition? All right, the ayes have it, and the motion passes. Next on the agenda is approval of the minutes from August 17th, 2020 and September 14th, 2020. Let's start with September 14th. You have all had an opportunity to receive and review those minutes. What is the pleasure of the board?
Madam Chair, without any amendments, we'd like to approve the minutes of September 14th.
Okay. We have a motion on the floor that we accept the minutes from September 14, 2020, assuming there are no changes or corrections. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion on the floor and a second. Is there any discussion? If not, you're in agreement, please signal by saying aye. Aye. Any opposition? All right, the ayes have it. Next, we have the minutes of August 17th of 2020. You've had a chance to receive and review those. What's the pleasure of the board?
Madam Chair, I move that we receive the minutes of August 17th meeting.
All right, we have a motion on the floor that we receive the minutes as they've been presented. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion on the floor and a second. Is there any discussion? If not, and you're in agreement, please signal by saying aye. Aye. Is there any opposition? If not, the ayes have it. The motion passes. Next on the agenda is item number 4, which is school reports. And we will start with Mrs. Stacy Walter of Richard Carroll Elementary School. Mrs. Walter.
Good evening.
Good evening.
It's been a while. I'm still Richard Carroll. I want to take a minute to introduce my assistant principal, Dr. Jonathan Goodman, to our new board member. I think they've already introduced themselves, but he's the big guy in the back. You have your handout in front of you. Currently, our enrollment, we have about 310 virtual students and 313 face-to-face, so we're kind of split in half. Attendance is overall well for both face-to-face and virtual students who are logging on and completing their assignments every day. When there are issues, the teachers are very quick to address those with the virtual students that they may be having those with. Our leap week assessments did show a decrease in grade levels, which we anticipated. It wasn't drastic, which was great, from last year to the fall of this year. We are going above and beyond with those identified virtual students, and what I mean by that is, even though they are virtual, my response to intervention teachers are contacting those parents, and we are bringing those children in one by one for one-on-one sessions by themselves with that teacher, if the parent agrees, for about 30 to 45-minute sessions once a week. So we're trying to keep that ball rolling with those children too. I'm very proud to say that we have 0 unaccounted for children. So we did a great job of making sure that all of our children were accounted for. We also have 0 discipline issues. And if you see the bullet that's highlighted in yellow, that'll give you some information there. Our virtual students are overall adjusted well to online learning, considering that we have from 5 years old to 12 that are doing virtual learning. We only have about 11 out of those 310 virtual learners that we've had to do that extra little following up, maybe do a little parent call, home visits, things like that to kind of get them back on track. When those issues arise, some of those things are done, and that kind of takes care of that. What we have to remember with those children is, that most of the time, a grandparent or an older sibling is helping them. So with that in mind, we've made accommodations for those parents to have a longer time for those children to turn in their assignments. So we're working really close with our parents. And lastly, I just cannot say thank you enough to, oh my gosh, my teachers, custodians, teacher assistants. My teacher assistants have gone above and beyond. They have been magnificent. They are stepping in as substitutes, and I can ask them to go here one day, here the next, and they are right on it. Cafeteria workers, my administration. It's a mentally and physically exhausting task that we're doing right now, but I have to say that when I walk down the halls every day, I smile because I can look in one room and see a totally virtual teacher with children's faces on the screen, and in another room I can see a teacher teaching face-to-face, and she has her Chromebook open with virtual kids zooming in. So I'm just very proud of my staff. And my parents and grandparents, I have to throw that out there too. The one good thing that's come out of this is the collaboration between parents and the teachers. I had one teacher say before I closed that she was even thinking of doing a little Friday Google session with the parents because some of them had such great ideas. And I was like, well, go for it. And that's what we're doing.
And your bus drivers as well.
And my bus drivers. Thank you so much, Mr. Duncan. Definitely them.
Great.
Okay.
All right. Does anyone have any questions for Mrs. Walter?
Madam Chair, can I ask a question?
Absolutely.
How do you guys handle lunch at school? Is it a bag lunch or
Well, what we
cafeteria?
do, because we socially distance in the cafeteria, we have pre-K through 3rd grade that go to the cafeteria for lunch. We have 4th, 5th, and 6th that eat in their classrooms. And what we do is we have wagons, and they'll go, one person will go from each room and grab a wagon, has everything in it, they pull it back to their room, and we've got a system rolling. Big trash cans are on the hall, they put their waste in there, bag it up, custodians come by, pick it up, and take the car back. Breakfast, everybody eats in the classrooms. It's going well. Like I said, knock on wood, I'm so proud and surprised at how we, as a team, are pulling it together and getting it done. There are glitches, but that's everywhere.
Well, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it. Welcome back.
Thank you.
All right, next up we have Mrs. Denise Miller of Bamberg Earhart Middle School.
Hello.
Hello.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I put a report on your table, and I'm going to go over it real quick. Our overall enrollment is 193 students. We have 103 7th graders and 90 8th graders. We have a total of 89 face-to-face learners and 104 virtual learners. All of our students have been accounted for. We have 0 confirmed cases of COVID for students, staff, etc., and 0 cases of teachers or students in quarantine. I'm going to give you some preliminary data from math testing there in Leap Week. Our 7th graders, they observed 5 points of growth. We were shooting for 7. Our 8th graders observed 5 points of growth. And this is from fall to fall. We were shooting for 5.8. And in reading, the 7th graders observed 5 points of growth, although they were only expected to go 4.8. And 8th graders observed 5 points of growth, even though they were only expected to go 4.3. So it looks like we lost a little ground in math from, I want to say it's COVID related. Those skills are skills that have to stay in use all the time, and so we will be working on math. I'm one happy principal. Our teachers are working diligently. If you pass the middle school at 6 o'clock in the morning, there are cars already there. They're working. If If you pass the middle school at 6 o'clock in the evening, there are cars still there. They are still working. Our custodians are doing a great job of keeping it clean. Front office staff, our nurse, she's working overtime. Everyone's just pulling together, and we are truly one team succeeding together. And that includes custodians, aides, and bus drivers. We have been reviewing our virtual learners' scores and identifying students that are struggling with virtual learning. And we are calling and speaking with both parents and students to offer support, to include bringing them back to school. So our face-to-face numbers are increasing daily, but we don't want to leave them out there until it's too late and they fail for a quarter. Our science teachers have taught COVID lessons in both grade levels. They bought this substance called glow germ that you put it on and it goes away, but you can transmit this glow-in-the-dark stuff everywhere, and they used a black light to show how illnesses are transmitted when you don't wash your hands properly. And then one more thing, Miss Melissa Darnell, she wrote and received a $3,500 general dollar literacy grant for new books in the library. If you have any questions for me, I'd be glad to answer.
That is great. Does anyone have any questions for Mrs. Miller? If not, we thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, welcome back. Next up, we have Mr. Denny Ulmer with Bamberg Earhart High School.
How's everybody doing today?
Great, how are you?
Good, good. I'd like to introduce my assistant principal, Mr. Smith. Can you stand up? Mr. Smith is a big part of what goes on at Bamberg Earhart High School. We would be lost without him. We are definitely honored to have him over at the high school with us. Our current enrollment is 374 students. We've got it broken down into, we have 95 ninth graders, 103 10th graders, 81 11th graders, and 95 12th graders. Our face-to-face versus virtual, we have 171 kids in our building right now. We have 203 kids who are virtual. Our MAP scores that we did during our LEAP week, we tested kids to look for possible regression due to the COVID pandemic. And when we looked at the results over math and English language arts, when comparing the MAP scores from the fall of 2020 to the fall of 2019 across the 9th to 12th grade cohorts, to cohort comparisons, there was no significant regressions shown amongst the students. Unaccounted for students, there are no unaccounted for students at this time. We've had zero issues with discipline, thankfully. I've got our COVID numbers down. We actually have 0 teachers positive. We have 1 student who just tested positive, who is home. All the other principals have talked about their custodians and their staff members and their teachers. I couldn't ask for a better group of people in the building with me this year. I feel like I've got a great group of teachers. We've made some changes earlier this year with custodians, and I think those changes have made a big difference. I don't know if you've been in the building. I think Ms. Eccles was in there today during lunch. It's quite noticeable. We're happy with the way things are going. Our midterms will go out on Thursday. At that time on Friday morning, we're going to look at our midterms, and we're going to address the kids who may need to look at coming back in our building to kind of help us with academics, for lack of a better word. Some of these kids aren't taking virtual learning serious. We realize that some of them don't have access to the internet like some of us do, and that is a problem, but we also understand there's a lot of kids out there that just may be taking advantage of the situation too. We're going to see what we can do about getting them back in our building and getting our hands on them so we can make sure they're doing what they're supposed to be doing. So, and we'll meet at 10 o'clock on Friday morning to look over that data. Anybody have any questions?
I like that.
I have a quick question, I guess, for Ms. Brown. Overall, our numbers slightly down for attendance. It appears across the board. It looks like we're slightly lower than last year.
For enrollment?
Right.
Yes, we are, and I had that on my
Oh, do you?
report.
Okay, all right,
but we
very
are.
good. I'm sorry.
This time last year, we started the school year off with 1,236 students enrolled from pre-K through 12th grade. And I had Miss Tucker, our data manager, to pull the enrollment for me Friday after looking at the principal's numbers, prelim numbers. And we were at 1191. I saved it on my... It was about 40 less students this
Okay.
time last fall. And on our 45th day report last year, we were at 1252, I think. And we, like I said, we're at 1191 right now.
Okay.
So we are.
All right. Does anyone else have any questions for Mr. Ulmer? If not, thank you so much and welcome back.
Man, good to be back.
And we would just like to thank all of
Yes.
the principals, assistant principals, all of your staff, your cafeteria workers, janitors, bus drivers, the parents, the grandparents, everyone that has had to make these necessary adjustments. I know it's not easy. It's a first time, and just appreciate everyone working together to be as successful as we possibly can under the circumstances of COVID-19. So we thank you all. All right, next on the agenda is item number 5, student staff recognition and superintendent's report, and I will turn it over to interim superintendent, Ms. Dottie Brown.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
And I remove my mask if that's okay with everybody, so I can talk and get through this and breathe at the same time. So first, I'd like to student staff recognition. I would like to say a thank you to all of our staff in the district, from the bus drivers to the food services workers to the custodians to our principals, our assistant principals. It has been tough. And every day I get a different memo or have a different virtual telephone conference with the State Department, and what we might have been doing yesterday, we might need to change today. And I pick up the phone and call the principals together, or we might be in a Google Meets meeting at 5:30 in the afternoon saying we have to change something. And the next morning by 7 a.m. it's implemented. And our bus drivers are running double routes, doing food service delivery and delivering students to and from school at the same time. Our paraprofessionals and aides, they might be in the library today subbing for somebody, and they might be in the first grade classroom tomorrow, and they go without question. So I'd like to say a special thank you to all of our staff, and especially our teachers as well, because every day when they think they got a grip on something, tomorrow's a readjustment. So I would also like to say that we have a teacher who has successfully completed their South Carolina Create and become dual certified. That's Ms. Kelsey Robinson Sandifer. She's also a graduate of our school system. She has successfully completed adding special education onto her certification. And Kelsey becomes, I believe it is the 14th teacher in Bamberg School District 1 to successfully complete South Carolina Create, which is a precedent. Also, we now have the LU PE system installed here in our physical education classroom. We are the 5th elementary school in the state of South Carolina to have that system. It is part of our action-based learning initiative that we began implementing here a couple of years ago, and we're slowly spreading along the lines. But I encourage all of you to please, if you get the opportunity, to call Coach Fording and come see that. It is a phenomenal physical education program and system. Okay, I'll move on now to, in your packets, you have a handout from an online viewing company called Pixelite. As you all know, the districts across South Carolina have been charged due to the COVID-19 pandemic at our athletic events this year. Following the South Carolina High School League guidelines, we are cutting our attendance down to 50% or less because of our facilities have to be at that capacity. But we like every other school, want to give the public the opportunity to view our events. South Carolina High School League suggested these to this company to South Carolina high schools, and we have chosen to try this out for a year. We have until September to kind of test run this program, but our parents of our students, viewers, will have the opportunity to go to this website and buy a per game subscription or a year-long subscription if they'd like to view the games. Now for us, we're getting 2 cameras placed, one at our football field that will video any event going on at the football field, whether it's football and soccer, and in the gym, it'll be basketball and volleyball. So just wanted to let y'all know that we will offer online viewing to the public because not everybody's going to be able to attend our athletic events.
Before you move on, I have a question about that. In viewing that, is there anyone other than the coaches, and of course I know you'll talk to the board about having athletic passes, is there anyone else that would have an athletic pass that would have access to this online?
Anybody in the public can access it online.
It
Even
would
if
be-
I have an athletic pass, I can access it online. If I'm not able to attend, let's say, the first home game that we have, and I have an athletic pass, I can log in, pay $10, and view it online.
So with an athletic pass, you would still have to pay?
Mhm.
Gotcha. That
The
was my
athletic pass
question.
does not cover the online
Gotcha.
viewing.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am. All right. I also, there's no handout for this, but under 5A, I just wanted to talk about a recommendation regarding out-of-district student transfers. As you all know, our district policy is that we will accept out-of-district paying tuition students as long as we have the resources to provide the educational services to them. For some of our student populations, we are at our capacity with teacher caseloads. So I just wanted to make the board aware, and of course that's a case-by-case situation, so I just wanted to make the board aware of that situation. Okay, and in 5C for professional development virtual instruction day regarding teachers. You all have heard all of the principals' reports about how hard the teachers are working. I cannot tell you how grueling this has been for teachers and teachers all across the state of South Carolina. But our teachers, literally, one of the principals mentioned that they are here from 6 a.m. in the morning till sometimes 6 and 7 o'clock at night. I had to come to the building this weekend and do some walkthroughs and some ground walkthroughs. And even yesterday afternoon, there were 2 grade levels of teachers here working all of Sunday afternoon. Adjusting to face-to-face and virtual instruction has been a challenging task. Some of our students that are virtual need a lot of attention. Our teachers need time for instructional planning. I am here to ask the board tonight to consider our having one day a week, one instructional day a week of virtual instruction. We currently are one of the few schools, if not the only in a 4-district radius around us that went back 5 full days of instruction. And we did that based on our survey responses. And as we've gotten into this, we found out that our students have a whole lot more needs when they're virtual, our parents have a lot more needs when they're virtual, and our face-to-face kids still need that quality instruction face-to-face. And it's as I explained to Ms. Molly Spearman's office just Thursday in a phone conference with them. In a small district, it is unreasonable to think that your teachers are not doing both. Our teachers are doing both face-to-face and virtual. And it's a lot. So, and also, we have been tasked with deep cleaning our buildings and facilities. So I'm here to ask the board tonight to consider going to 4 face-to-face instructional days a week for the students that are attending face-to-face, but having 1 day a week of virtual instruction for students, for teachers to do professional development, for teachers to do instructional planning, for them to devote that extra time needed to conferencing with students virtually, to grade papers. I sat down with a high school math teacher yesterday and watched her as she graded a student's virtual math exam, and to do one student's exam took her almost 45 minutes. To effectively grade that exam and to write comments back to that student where this is where you made this mistake in solving this equation kind of thing. It takes longer because you are responding to them on a computer, not on written paper. So it just takes a little bit longer, those types of things. So I'm just asking the board to consider that and to entertain that. Now that will take a vote from the board to change us from 5 instructional days to 4. But also during that time, if our students are home doing virtual instruction, that would give us more time to actually do deep cleaning of the facilities as well, and the buses, the cafeteria, things like that, because they wouldn't be in the building.
Okay. That definitely sounds reasonable. I know that you had to submit a plan to the
Yes.
State Department of Education with regards to what we were doing when we started.
That is correct.
So if if the board does approve this, would you go and do an amended plan, or what is Molly's request with making that adjustment from that standpoint?
Yeah, I had a personal phone conference with Dr. David Mathis in Molly Spearman's office on Thursday morning,
Okay.
And his advisement was, we too, like other districts, are running into the same things I just spilled out to all of you guys. And his suggestion was we do not have to write the entire plan again.
Okay.
We have to submit to him an amendment in an email,
Okay.
and that will suffice.
Great. Okay, board members, you've had an opportunity to hear Mrs. Brown's request with regards to allowing 1 day a week for virtual instruction for the various reasons that she's outlined, some of which is for personal development, grading papers, things of that nature, instructional planning. What is the pleasure of the board with regards to this request?
Madam Chair, I make a motion that we allow Superintendent Brown to allow 1 day a week for virtual learning and all that goes with it.
All right, we have a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion on the floor and a second. Is there any further discussion?
I have a quick question. On those Fridays with the virtual instruction, I mean, will there be any live teaching on, maybe I'm confused on what the virtual instruction will, encompass on Friday?
Yeah, and I'm glad you asked that, because before you took a vote, I want to explain
Yeah.
something. We are not going to suggest that it be Friday. We actually surveyed, I had all the principals survey every certified teacher in their buildings yet today and Friday. The majority of the teachers voted on Wednesday or Friday. However, Fridays, we have a lot of athletic events going on. A lot of other things happen throughout the year on Fridays. So that left Wednesdays. The administrators and I, all the building administrators and I, feel like Wednesdays is the best day. That's where you have less things tend to happen throughout the year. Monday's not a good day. A lot of holidays fall on Monday. We have a lot of other things scheduled on Mondays. So we would like to propose that it be a Wednesday. I would also like to propose that this not start immediately, that we give the parents at least a 15-day notice to arrange things like childcare, which would get us towards the end of this 9 weeks. But then give the teachers some breathing time going into the second 9 weeks, because we are going to have some of those students that are in danger of failing and need some extra support going into the second 9 weeks. And those are the ones that we want to focus on during this time. And also one thing that I didn't mention a whole lot of too is during those days, we are also having to have a lot of IEP meetings, 504 meetings. The state has taxed us with reassessing every one of those students. This would also allow that we're not pulling teachers out of the classroom when they do have students in face-to-face, that we can have some of those meetings on those days as well and do virtual meetings with parents. But our thought was that we would do it on a Wednesday. We would have some students may need to come in if they are taking some of those assessments required under IDEA or Section 504, or some assessments that the teachers need to give for curriculum base. It could be that teachers make appointments on those days to bring those students in, and they could devote that one-on-one time to gather that data and that information. So there will be some students coming into our buildings for different things. Also, students with special needs that get related services, if there's those service provider schedules warrant, Mr. John Hires gets a certain service on Wednesday at 10 o'clock, those students will come in and get those services as well. However, we'll have designated places for those students to be that wouldn't interfere with like the cleaning and things like that. So there will be some situations where students might be coming into the buildings. for
So on those
different things.
Wednesdays though, there'll be, assignments given that the students are expected to do on those days,
Yes,
but there won't be any live, over Chromebook or whatever, teaching going on. It'll be,
could be.
could be.
Could
Okay.
be. Teachers could be online doing the virtual instruction.
Okay.
But it wouldn't be what they would do every other day. It would be much shorter segments. This is when they might devote some one-on-one time to students for little pieces of time, but not maybe teaching a 90-minute English class like they normally would. So it would allow them some additional time to do some of all those other tasks, but students will still be required to log in and do the assignments in their virtual classroom.
Okay. Is there any other discussion or questions for Ms. Brown? Okay, if not, if you're in favor, please signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Is there any opposition? All right, there is none. The ayes have it, and we will allow you to decide if, Wednesday seems to be the day for you. You may find out at some point in time that may have to change. That will be at your discretion to do that, as well as how you plan to roll all of that out and notifying the parents. That would be something.
And we will publicly notify the parents and give them time to plan, and I will go on the principal's feedback to me, and we'll adjust, and of course, keep the public and you guys informed if we need to adjust as we move along.
Okay, thank you.
Okay?
All right.
Also in your packet, item 5D on the agenda is a copy of, we now have registered our BE Diamond trademark. It is officially registered as a service mark and a trademark with the state of South Carolina, and we are awaiting the national service and trademark because we've registered it nationally. What this means is that this emblem that you see before you, you've got a copy of the certificate from the state Secretary of State, means that it solely belongs to Bamberg School District 1, and it cannot be copied or used to be copied for purposes outside of school purposes, nor for individuals to profit from. It is the sole ownership now of Bamberg School District 1. So I wanted to give you guys a copy of the certificate signed by the Secretary of State granting that.
Okay.
Any questions about that? Okay, and you brought up earlier the question about athletic passes. Kind of briefly went over that Mr. Jerome Singleton and with the South Carolina High School League has issued guidance to schools. We get them every week. The South Carolina High School League, they are issuing passes this year, athletic passes. However, they encourage districts to restrict those. So it changed a little bit this year, and here's why. Your athletic passes, of course, will get you into our facilities. Your ID that you have will get you into a home game free. So in the past, people who got athletic passes now can use their ID to get in if you're an employee of the district or if you are a board member. The reason why is because other schools have limited their capacity, and they have the right to deny you entry if you have an athletic pass. That might not get you in, say, Orangeburg or Barnwell. They have the right to say, you have an athletic pass, but you're not in our district, so we're not accepting it. So districts have limited those this year to the coaching staff, to people who work with the coaching staff, and the district office personnel, and the superintendent and assistant superintendent, and the school administrators. So just wanted to explain all that, and that is because of COVID-19 and limiting the capacity at the facilities.
Okay.
Part of that.
So for any board member that does not have an actual ID, can you explain what the process is for them to obtain that
Sure.
so that they can get into the home games?
Absolutely. If you would contact Mr. Ulmer, at the high school. The IDs are made at the high school. It's nothing but taking your picture, kind of like your driver's license. That's done in our media center. But Mr. Ulmer can give you a day and time to come by the high school and, or myself, and let Ms. Compton make your ID. It's taken right there and printed right there. It takes all of like 5 minutes. So we can get you one. So please call us if you need one. Okay?
Does anyone have any questions on that? Okay, if not, I do have a question about another pass, and I just want to, I'm going to turn this over to you. This is from last year. This is the Salkahatchee Education Consortium Superintendent Season Pass that was provided to all of the board members. I do understand that COVID-19 has caused a lot of changes. This particular pass would allow us to get in as a board member to games at Allendale, Bamberg 1 and 2, Williston 29, Barnwell 45, Barnwell 19, Hampton 1 and 2, Jasper County, and Colleton County. And I'm not sure whether or not, I would imagine COVID-19 probably has made some adjustments with regards to that, and I don't know if you know what those are. So I'm going to turn this over to you, and then maybe you
Can check on that for
can
you?
check in that and see if how that's working with us.
Be glad to. I will say Dr. Teresa Pope and those at our consortium has not mentioned those in the meetings that I've been in.
Okay.
But I can certainly check with Mr. Williams
Okay.
and contact them tomorrow and let you guys know about that.
Okay, and I also know with the consortium, I know that we are paying a fee into that. So just take that into consideration if some adjustments have been made, if you
Okay.
check on that as
I
well.
will.
Okay,
I'll be glad
thank
to
you.
do that.
All right.
All right, facilities maintenance and school closures, which, in the past, well, Thursday of last week, I was alerted to mold being found here in the elementary school in a couple of the classrooms. We've had a company come out today and do air quality checks in every single classroom. We have also, we're waiting the results from that. They just collected the samples today. You heard Ms. Farr and Mr. Paget were with those individuals today escorting them around the school. While the mold was discovered in a couple of classrooms, we're checking them all. We will have a professional cleaning company starting tomorrow come and clean specific classrooms where that was found. It's just been the perfect storm for this lately. It's been all of the rain, all of the humidity, the air conditioners running constantly, and then other things causing this mold to kind of accumulate around the air conditioner systems and the vents. So we are certainly having that inspected, having the air quality tested, and we'll have the professional cleaning company come back that did this last year as well.
Have we had our air conditioning contractor look at it? I mean, because that's, part of the dehumidification for the building is the air conditioning unit. So have they verified that the units are properly functioning?
And I'm going to defer that to Ms. Furr, who talks with the air conditioner company, and to Mr. Paget. You want to talk on that?
So, so we have an annual preventative maintenance contract with Hoffman. They were the ones that do that service for us. All the units at that time are prep, check, pressure check, filters change, everything else, and they're supposed to be up to snuff. Now, we have talked to them the last couple of days, and we want to get them back and get the records for them to make sure exactly what they have as far as trend data, change-out data, and everything else. So we're looking at that as well right now. But we do have system maintenance, a preventative maintenance contract with them to do that.
Is that HVAC language?
There you go.
So,
So with that happening, you talk about school closure. Can you
Yes.
kind of go through that?
for instance, tomorrow, we do have, our 4K students will be home tomorrow because we are cleaning and removing those classrooms. Also, when we get the results back and when we get a definitive answer on how much cleaning is needed, I would like to ask the board for the flexibility in alerting our parents that we might need to close the elementary school in order for the professional cleaning company to come and do the professional removal and the treatment and the cleaning of any areas affected by mold. So that is what I would like for the board to entertain now. I do not have an exact date right now because, like I said, they just collected their ear samples this morning. This has moved rather fast. As soon as it was discovered last week, we started jumping up and trying to get people in here. Today was the day he was able to come and start collecting samples, so we're waiting the results. And then we'll move from there and get a specific date on when they might come. This does not affect the middle school nor the high school. So I would like to ask the board to entertain us in case this happens before our next board meeting, which we anticipate will. We've asked them to rush it because this is health and safety, that you guys allow us to alert parents and close the school to do the deep cleaning that's going to need to be done and the removal.
Okay, would it just be one day or we're not sure?
Do not know that yet.
Okay.
Tomorrow is just one day for that one grade level I mentioned earlier, but we do not know that yet until we get the extent of the test back.
Okay.
Okay?
And whether you can do it wing
We-
by wing instead of the entire
Right.
school at one time?
Right. But I would like to ask for the board's flexibility to make that that decision based on what we receive back from the test results. And I would definitely could call Ms. Walker, who then could reach out to all of you if you prefer to do that and let us know. But I would like the flexibility to alert parents to say, we'll do another virtual instructional day that would allow for the cleaning company to come in and take care of that.
Okay. Well, you have heard the request from Mrs. Brown with regards to the facility maintenance here at Richard Carroll Elementary School, as well as regarding the need to do a school closure. Although we don't have all the particulars on that, she's awaiting to receive information in order to determine that. With that being said, what is the pleasure of the board to allow Mrs. Brown the flexibility to handle the maintenance as well as the school closure?
Madam Chairman, I move that we allow Ms. Brown to have the flexibility to close the school if necessary to perform the cleaning and maintenance.
Okay. We have a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion on the floor and a second. Is there any further discussion? If not, and you're in agreement, please signal by saying aye. Aye. Is there any opposition? Hearing none, the ayes have it, and that motion passes.
And Mr. Chairman, can you notify us as soon as you hear something?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. All right, we are down to item number 6, election of delegate / alternate to the 2020 Delegate Assembly for the South Carolina School Board Association.
Yes, and it is that time for the board to elect delegates, for Ms. Stokes to alert them as who you guys have selected to attend this. So,
All right, well, we'll open up the floor. Who would like to make a nomination that someone goes? Mr. Duncan, would you like to?
I'll make a nomination that Ms. Echo.
Ms. Echols, okay.
Echoes?
Be the delegate?
Yes.
All right.
25th, Columbia.
All right, any other nominations? All right, we'll close that nomination. What about the alternate?
I believe they only said one person, if I.
You still have, you have to give 2 names though.
Yeah.
Okay.
In case something happens and Mrs. Echols is unable to attend, they would need to have another name.
I nominate Ms. Gwendolyn Baker.
All right, Ms. Gwendolyn Bamberg has been nominated as the alternate. Are there any other nominations? All right, then we'll close that and we will take a vote that we have Ms. Echols as the delegate and Ms. Diane Bamberg as the alternate. If we can put that in the form of a motion, I would appreciate that.
Madam Chair, make a motion that the delegate on September 25th in Columbia, Ms. Echols, Ms. Bamberg as the alternate.
Okay, a motion on the floor. This will be for Friday, December 4th, 2020. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion on the floor and a second. Is there any further discussion? If not, I will hear those that are in favor to signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Is there any opposition? Hearing none, the ayes have it. All right, Mrs. Echols, you will be the delegate for the annual business meeting, and Mrs. Bamberg, you will be the alternate. Only one needs to show up, meaning the actual delegate needs to show up. The alternate will only attend if something happens that the actual delegate cannot attend. So even though you have a delegate and an alternate, only one would need to actually attend. So you may move forward in submitting those names accordingly. And if I could pass this on to you, if you could pass one to Ms. Echols. Thank you, John. All right. We have that taken care of. Next on the agenda, Mrs. Stokes, the recorder needs to be turned over. Next on the agenda, we have item number 7, which is the monthly financial report, and I will turn that over to our Finance Director, Devon Furr. Good evening.
Good evening.
As y'all know, the legislators are back in session, so I know by the end of this month, we have a budget from them, and then we'll have a work session, and I will go over what needs to be put in our budget. So right now, there are no numbers in the budget column, because I don't have anything put in there. I've heard rumors they may stay on continuing resolution. I've heard rumors they're going to put some more money there. I've heard lots of things. So right now, it's all up in the air as to what they decide to do. But as soon as we have that, we'll have a work session like we normally do, and we'll get this budget taken care of at that point. Auditors are here. Well, they've been here for over a week now. And so my audit is going on at this moment, and we'll get that before December 1st. Everything else is in the packet. If you have any questions, we are dealing with the situation here. I'm working with the same company we worked with last year. So as soon as and they're really quick about getting everything back to us, so we will have all that back to y'all as soon as possible with the results and with what we need to do next. If they can come on a Saturday, she did a little bit more expensive, but if they prefer to do that, I don't mind doing Saturdays, so we'll work that out as well, so that we don't have to close anything down, but we will have to do some things differently over here.
Okay.
So if y'all have any questions, I'll be happy to answer.
All right. Does anyone have any questions for Mrs. Furr? If not, I'll entertain a motion that we accept the monthly financial report as has been presented.
Madam Chairman, I move that we accept the financial report as presented.
We have a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion on the floor and a second. Is there any further discussion? If not, and you are in agreement, please signal by saying aye. Aye. Is there any opposition? Hearing none, the ayes have it. Down to number 8 is visitors' comments, and I see that we don't have any visitors that have signed in or attended the meeting. So we will move on to item number 9, which is to go into executive session to discuss student transfer, personnel recommendations for resignation transfer, as well as personnel recommendations for hire. What is the pleasure of the board with regards to executive session?
Madam Chair, I make a motion that we go into executive session to discuss items A, B, and C, student transfer, personnel recommendation for a resignation transfer, personal recommendation for hire.
We have a motion on the floor that we go into executive session. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion on the floor and a second. Is there any further discussion? If not, and you're in agreement that we move into executive session, please signal by saying aye. Aye. Is there any opposition? All right, hearing none, the ayes have it. We will move into executive session. I would like to thank you all for coming. We appreciate it. You are free to stick around if you would like to. Floor in a second. Is there any discussion? If not, you're in agreement that we come out of executive session, please signal by saying aye. Aye. Is there any opposition? If not, hearing none, the ayes have it. We are now out of executive session. What is the pleasure of the board with regards to any action on executive session?
Madam Chairman, I move that we accept student transfer for student number 1. For student number 2, there was no action taken. For personnel recommendation, resignations, and transfers, that we accept the retiring of employee A. We accept the end of employment of employee B, and we accept the resignation for employee C. I also move that we accept the transfer that was listed.
Okay. And with regards to...
And that we accept the personnel recommendation for hire.
All right. Okay. Thank you so much. We have a motion on the floor that we accept the items as our board member has outlined. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion on the floor and a second. Is there any discussion? If not, and you're in agreement, please signal by saying aye. Aye. Is there any opposition? Hearing none, the ayes have it. The motion passes. We are now down to item number 11, and that is to adjourn the meeting. What's the pleasure of the board?
Madam Chair, I make a motion that we adjourn, come to a closing.
We have a motion on the floor that we adjourn. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion on the floor and a second. Is there any discussion? If not, and you're in agreement that we adjourn this meeting, please signal by saying aye. Aye. Is there any opposition? Hearing none, the ayes have it. This meeting is hereby adjourned.